He's just working to the last minute.
Good job now.
She's the lady there. She'll tell you. How are you?
Well, as soon as we can get it.
Gather around and good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank everyone for coming out today for this very significant project that has been underway for the last couple of years through the Boundary Historical Society. My name is Cher Wires and I am the Vice President of the Historical Society. Today we are joined by members of the Historical Society. Joanne Sargent is our treasurer. Laura Loader is a director on our board. We have Doreen Sorensen, of course, our secretary, our very efficient secretary. And Irene Perepelkin is our Area D representative and director. So I want to thank everyone for coming out, and especially to Gordie Jones for the introductory bagpipes. Such a beautiful touch in a beautiful setting. And I'm sure there's spirits that heard your music. So on behalf of Joan Hart, our president, she's asked me to read a couple of words from herself. So although I am unable to attend today, it is with great satisfaction and delight that I congratulate and acknowledge the Boundary Woodworkers Guild, especially David Bevan, for his vision and determination. The Boundary Historical Society for helping the dream come true. The support of many wood carvers and woodworkers has enabled completion and placement of the memorial kiosk that we're here to dedicate today. In Phoenix Cemetery, we honor and acknowledge those who lived in our early history, part of a vibrant mining community so long ago. This kiosk is for visitors in the present, discovering and remembering the history, long into the future. Thank you, one and all, for working on, repairing, and restoring this cemetery, coming here often, especially today. That is from our president, Joan Hart, who is unable to attend today. So I'm going to pass the floor to Al Donnelly, past president with the Boundary Historical Society. Al?
Thank you. I'm not sure if I'm the past president or the past.
Yeah, but you know what? As long as you're past, so you're always a past president.
I'd also like to start with asking who was it that got me onto this project, because it took a good year of my life.
Well, I thought it took 2, actually.
Well, just think of all the other lives it took.
Well, no, when I talked to you about it, you said you'd already started, so.
I had started it,
Yeah.
and who knew that it was going to be the
Yeah.
kind of project,
What would you know?
but thoroughly enjoyable. Let me tell you first that coming up with the names of the people that are buried here was a project that started years and decades ago. In fact, in 1971, Lois Hagan,
Yes.
who ended up being MLA in this
That's correct.
in this province, that she put the society put her story of Phoenix and the Phoenix Cemetery into I think number six report.
Yeah, I think it's 6.
And then in the 2000s, we had a couple more people involved in the list, and that was George Broomfield. Some of you would know, and Rose Coville, very much involved in putting this together. So I had that information. I had those lists to start with, to use, and I certainly did. And I want to say too that some people here, maybe certainly the old timers, will remember that at one time the list of who was buried here was much larger, almost 200 names. And what we decided was that there were a number of people who we couldn't prove were buried here. Proof would be newspapers or information from the government, and that they were probables, but we couldn't prove them. So we took those probables out, just so that we didn't have, we have who should be here on our list today. The list is, I believe, 138. I think was the final number. And as you'll see when you walk through here, that from babies to seniors, it's the whole 9 yards, and it's also a cross section of what Phoenix was all about. And of course, the flu in 1918, 1919, it overrode almost everything that was happening at that time in here. So I also want to let everybody know, and I don't know if everybody's got one of these. I know you were selling them at the fair.
Yeah, I've actually, on the kiosk, there's a window there,
Okay.
and they're available at Greenwood Museum, Boundary Museum, and the Art Gallery in Grand Forks. So
What's in this list here is not just the list of the names of the 138 people, but it's the circumstances of how they died, and also in most cases where they came from. So many of the people came from the old countries and from the United States, and probably not that many Canadians that were actually working up here. Everybody seemed to be from somewhere else. But what's nice about this is that if you are walking through the cemetery, to have this list and to be able to look at the name of that's on the gravestone and look at this and find out something about that person. Trying to make it a little bit personal. Most of the time when a person walks through a graveyard or a cemetery, it's not exactly a personal trip, but this makes it a little bit so. It also, again, shows how people died, which it was a dangerous world back in those days, and it's all recorded in here. So hopefully everybody will enjoy this aspect of it and enjoy what we've got here too. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. So I'm going to call upon David Bevan from the Boundary Woodworkers Guild. And Willie.
And Willie. Thank you, Willie.
I'll make sure I get it in the picture.
Okay, so the Woodworkers Guild were approached to come up here and repair a few picket fences that might have been in need of repair. They certainly are, and some of them still exist that are in need of attention. That gathered a little bit of momentum because we felt that some of those that were just not able to be repaired needed to be replaced, and the Historical Society found the wherewithal to pay for the repairs. The Guild do not charge, by the way, for the work or for the labour. They just do it for love, and they pay $30 a year to enjoy the privilege. However, it got out of the box. Things started to go awry because Doreen then thought, and I had thought, wouldn't it be nice to put a few names on those new picket fences? And being the carver in residence at the Guild, I was myself going to carve a few plaques to put on the grave markers that we'd made. So when we got to discussion on this, we realised that apart from the stone ones around the grave, nobody knows who is under where. So although we could put a picket fence there, we had no idea who is beneath the ground. So the idea then that we could not put plaques, but of course we let the monkey out of the box. So here we are. What are we going to do? So the next suggestion was an avenue of posts with names on the tops along perhaps this walkway. And then that became a rather daunting, because to be putting posts in the ground is one thing, to be putting plaques with names on is another. And then Doreen dropped another little bombshell in, that not just for those who weren't recognised in here, but everyone had to be on it. So instead of looking at 80, we're now looking at nearly 140 names. Well, the Guild have been making these kiosks, and you'll find them on the Canadian Trail. We have been making these now. In fact, one of our members said, is this the last one we're making? And perhaps it might be the last one, so I'm standing under the last one, possibly. However, the idea came to me that perhaps in here we could put the 140 names. So we came up with that and said yes. Again, the finance was made available thanks to the area D&C, was it?
D&E.
D&E. Thank you for that. Not being local in terms, I lose my way with the ABCs and Ds. Anyway, so the idea was to put in the kiosk the names and to carve them all, not just write them, but to carve them. So I set them out and I approached members of the Guild who, as is magic as usual, produced this wonderful kiosk, which I can tell you is going to be here for many years. The names, I enlisted members, family, friends. The lettering has been carved from here to the Atlantic coast, because Sheila and I did a trip across Canada to PEI and Nova Scotia, stopping at various parks on the way. I even got park attendants carving letters. I got family members carving letters. I got most of the people here have carved letters. In all, 19 people carved at least one letter, if not many more. And so there you will see the number of letters is in the 1200 range, and they're all there. One of the things I really like is the fact that people still visit this graveyard looking for their ancestors. A fortnight ago, a family from North Wales were here looking at their great-grandfather's grave, and the grandchildren, obviously it was their great-great-grandfather. They were here. We now have a list of people who are here, perhaps visitors looking for their ancestors will now find a record of them instead of just a hole in the ground that has got no record at all. So it's been very satisfying. But the main work has been produced by Bob, John, Dick. They've done a lot of work up here. A few of the other members have been here and are here today who have carved, and it's with them that we have to do the thanking and for the work they put in. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So I'll call upon David. Are we going to do the official
Oh.
unveiling now, aren't we?
Can you lift it up or does it have to go sideways?
You're going that side?
I can go this side.
Okay, you
Do it
ready?
slow. Lift it up. Oh, wow.
Gotta do it again.
Go to the other side.
Gotta get someone tall on this side.
On this side?
There you are.
No, it's
You can reach. You can reach.
I missed that.
That's the picture. I got the wood not without the paper.
And Gordy's going to pipe us a song.
Yes, I can pipe a tune while we're...
Okay.
So just in closing, I just wanted to recognize our Kootenai Boundary of Regional District, Kootenai Boundary, Area E Director Vicki G, and Area D Rural Grand Forks Rolly Russell, who provided $2,000 each from their cemetery services in their budgets. And so these funds are going towards the continued restoration of the Phoenix Cemetery.
And also, I'd like to say something too, because I've been here a long time.
Director Loader.
No, I was under the director, my husband was. Anyway, and they started, they had done quite a bit of work too, and someplace there's a stone that says what they had done. So it was never forgotten, it was always remembered. And also Paul Letard was one of the ones from Greenwood that just did oodles of work. He devoted his life to it for a while there, and he just painted, made sure everything kept painted. And that was a big job here. But they did an excellent job. But the regional districts got involved, and they really did help out with whatever they could.
Thanks, Laura.
That's gonna be a challenge with the glare on the
All these people would be so happy that they really did
I didn't know that. What do you think?
Wow.
It's beautiful.
So many turned up.
That's the family that came from Wales. Oh, thank you.
How are you doing?
Good. And after we have what you know, one of those little babies that are there.
Thanks, Gordy.